Virginia!
This last week we went to North Carolina to help out with Samaritan's Purse. We did a lot of picking up of rocks, cutting down trees, getting rid of limbs and sticks, helping people remove things from their houses that had been flooded or were just covered in mud.
We were able to work with a bunch of other volunteers, about 200, I think that's what they said. And we got to meet so many great people, and our team leader Josh, he was awesome, and all of the homeowners that we met and were able to help out. It's just a really cool trip.
For our first couple jobs, we did some sifting of rocks, like gravel from larger rocks, to be able to put it in some of the landfills.
It's the floodwaters. We're dumping rocks into this terrace here. And how are you feeling?
I'm feeling great, but
good.
sore.
Very good. Jarrett, how are you feeling?
Great.
Great. Mrs. Kleinhans, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling tired.
Mud covering some of the pathways to the houses. The houses were still intact in this particular first site, but there was a lot of rock debris, and some of the rocks were actually surprisingly very large, and it takes a lot of force to move those rocks. So you could tell that the floodwaters definitely raged through this area. But we were able to get that cleaned up. That was kind of our first kind of getting on the ground, helping and supporting these people who are in need. We were able to talk with the homeowner, and he was very thankful for us being there. We also went up to the top of a hill, and at the top of this hill there was a house that was kind of sitting on kind of the ledge there, and you also had a lot of trees that were down behind it in the backyard.
I got to use a chainsaw, which was awesome. I was so stoked when I heard that I could do that.
And the homeowner showed up at the top of this mountain. Very nice homeowner.
This lady named Mary, she was very sweet and kind and just so thankful for everything we did for her.
Have to say, being able to sing to Mary on the mountain with some of the other girls from the trip just really blessed my heart, just watching her and being able to sing to her. God has a way of just bringing blessings to you, even though you think you're gonna be a blessing to others.
Name above all names, blessed Redeemer, Emmanuel, the rescue for sinners, the ransom from heaven, Jesus Messiah, Lord of all.
Jarrett, day 2, and it's raining. How do you feel?
Great.
Great. Kara, day 2.
I want to pet these dogs so bad.
Look at these dogs.
The man who had the 2 dogs, we were raking, doing a lot of leaf moving and tree moving. He came out and we were able to all pray for him, and when Josh gave him the Bible, I pray that it touched him in a way that he hadn't felt before. Later, as we were leaving, I saw some of the chaplains praying with him, so I really hope that that impacted him.
I liked giving the Bibles to them because you could, like, when they got emotional and stuff, you could really see the Holy Spirit in that because they, like, knew that there was something more to life. It just was cool to, like, see it.
And I think just the fact that we're giving out these Bibles shows that, again, we don't only care for them physically, but we're also showing that spiritual concern for them. We're doing this because we love you. The reason why we love you is because Christ calls us to love one another. Here we are at the top of this hill. We're doing some wood cleanup. I got frost all over the top of my hair. It's snowing here, but we're still going.
This couple named Monica and Mark, we were in a blizzard, which was awesome. We did a line where people would just hand one to another and we just throw it down the side of the mountain. So that was so cool.
When we first got there, I actually went up the wrong driveway, and this driveway took me all the way up a mountain. I accidentally got stuck in the mud, and there was no way to get further up because I was stuck. So I was in a kind of a bad spot. On this driveway, there was no other way to turn around, so I ended up having to back down the entire mountain backwards, just looking out the back window.
Guided the van down the hill. I felt like a guy that was like working at a what was that? The plane.
Yes.
No one's doing this after, I'm telling you, no one.
What was that, Ben?
Getting stuck was actually a high spot for me because we got to walk up the hill, we got to walk down that area, we got to see, and the snow was falling beautifully, so I have to say the nature and just the goodness of God that we got to see when we were walking around.
Just an experience to kind of remember in that regard. One I'm not going to forget, and I'm going to keep that in mind whenever I try to go up a steep mountain again. How do you guys feel?
Great.
My legs are numb.
We went to the next driveway over, which happened to be the house of Monica and Mark.
They were just really sweet and inviting to us after we cleaned up some of the branches out in their yard. Well, first she came out and she told us she was gonna give us cookies and stuff and hot cocoa, and that felt nice because it was freezing. It was his birthday, and so we got to sing him happy birthday, and it was just fun to be able to connect with him like that.
And we also got to sing with Monica and Mark and answer some prayers for them, but also I think they answered more prayers for us than they might know.
It was really neat that we answered their prayer. Mark had this disease. He couldn't control his hand, and he's been praying that someone would come over to his house and sing with him and just hang out with him, and it was cool that we were the first ones to answer his prayer.
We went to the living room after we chatted with them for a little bit. We were able to reach out to them, and we gathered together and sang Christmas carols. All of us. It was not just the young people, it was also the chaperones, it was everyone that was there. Just the opportunity to do that and be an answer to their prayer shows just how much more God can use you, not just for the purpose. We came down here purpose, we're gonna come out, we're gonna do some work for some people, but there were so many other wide opportunities that opened up to us that weren't even considered part of what our original idea was, that we're gonna just help people with their general needs and work that was needed. We got back and we actually had a chance to interact with some of the other volunteers. We did all kinds of different things over the couple of days that we were there. We did things such as basketball, dodgeball, board games.
I loved meeting so many new people at the church we were working with. It was so cool to see other volunteers who were passionate about the same thing and excited to help. It was just so much fun getting to know them, making memories with them.
I was able to sing with some of the girls from the group to the group of Samaritan workers that were there. That was just a big blessing in my life.
I would consider that as one of the high points of the trip, is just seeing that these young people are inspiring these people all across the country, I guess you could say, all these different volunteers. They're being inspired by this group of young people who's willing to go out and serve. And I think that's a message to all the other young people. Go out and serve. Get out there and volunteer, because I mean, if you're a young person in today's generation and you're going out and you're showing that you're willing to serve all these other people around you, that speaks volumes to not just your generation, but to generations ahead of you and generations below you. And God is definitely working through what you guys did over the past 3 days. And you should remember that and consider that in future opportunities that you have as well.
We learned the difference between joy and fun. I so enjoyed working with these kids. They all worked hard. They were a great testimony.
Just the pure joy that the kids just spread. It was infectious. You know, it spread to homeowners that we helped, to the different teams that we were working beside, and coming back to, you know, every night we'd share our experiences and, you know, where did we see God that day, and they just lit up the room.
When we were working, the team leader came to me and asked me if the media team could video us. And I said, by all means, yes. And we ended up going up on top of a mountain in the middle of a snowstorm, and they couldn't catch up with us. So it didn't happen, but I just tell you the story just so you know that our team had got the attention of Samaritan's Purse. And this is one of the biggest operations Samaritan's Purse has done here in the lower 48. And so for us to get their attention tells you that our team was pretty special. And so I just feel like God had his hand in so many different ways. God was with us.
Anne, how do you feel?
I feel great.
Feel great. April, how do you feel?
Feel great.
Feel great. Elizabeth? Good. Anna, how do you feel?
Fantastic.
Jarrett, how do you
I
feel?
feel great.
Leonard?
I'm not gonna answer the question.
Day 3 came around. We also were able to help with a little bit more of some additional tree cleanup. And then we went to probably one of the most devastated places in the entirety of where we were at. Back there you can see pretty much destroyed building. Got mud on top of these vehicles right here. It looks like, well, based on how high the mud is on top of different vehicles and all the way up to the road over there, you can pretty much see the water rose 10 to 12 feet in this area.
Our last job, we had a guy that had his entire house washed through, but he was able to get out in time. And he probably wasn't able to save much stuff, but his entire family, they were just all safe, and that was what was important.
Knowing that that person was safe and there was so much damage to that house, you would expect, like, you know, that it would have seemed like there wouldn't be able to have someone be safe in that house, but like when you went and looked and you saw like he had to get rid of so much stuff, but he still had family members to be able to help him. All the people that were like willing to help, that was cool to watch because there was like a lot of groups that were before us to go help.
The basement of this place still had water in it 2.5 months after this whole hurricane has occurred. So this place was relatively still untouched. So the opportunity that we had to go out and be that support, be that way to help lift them up in their time of need. Hopefully it encouraged them in some way, and hopefully it was a testimony to them as well.
My experience was a little bit different than everybody else's because I spent half the time with the team, and then I had some other opportunities to experience different things that the team didn't get to. So the last day I was in a dump truck, and where I seen God moving was just some of those people just getting their story off their shoulders. You know, we helped 3 people that day. The one lady had been trapped on her property for the whole 11 weeks, and we were able to provide her with a driveway and a culvert, and her husband was in ICU. She was not physically capable to walk down the mountain to get into a car. So that provided an opportunity for somebody to be able to drive up, pick her up, and take her to the hospital to see her husband. And to be able to give her a Bible was amazing. You know, the second one, it was a washed out property where it filled in a river, and then the river diverted down his driveway and washed it out 7 feet deep. And just listening to his story and his neighbor behind him, and she ended up perishing, and just listening to just letting him be able to get this stuff off from his chest, you know, just sharing faith. And he was a fellow Christian too. And his church, actually, we drove by it several times before we realized it was actually a church, because the only thing left was a sign. It was completely wiped out. So he's even had to go find another church to be able to connect with. People just scattered. The last one was, again, you know, the river raged so much that it completely changed the landscape of his property. And just letting him, you know, express what it looked like before the flood and before the rivers completely wiped out everything. Watching God move, letting them just kind of get that off their chest, and then opening a door to be able to minister to people.
We are going to go through many hard, difficult times, and with like just seeing how the people handled it, you could definitely see who were just believing that the Lord was working through that in some way, and then there are other people who just didn't know where to look. And so it was really cool to see how God was working in the lives of so many. And it brought so many people down to the level of willing to listen when they might not have before. They were willing to listen to the gospel message that the chaplains were giving, people who came to Christ. They were looking for something, and we were able to show them what the word had to say.
The next day, the last day that we were there, we had the opportunity to go to the actual base of operations for Samaritan's Purse. We were able to go see the place where they actually process the shoe boxes, and also we were able to kind of get a tour of that general area, see God's hand in the base of operations that they have, and getting those shoe boxes taken care of. What do you think about
Amazing.
this? Anna, what do you think about this place?
I am just amazed. I have never wanted to be part of Samaritan's Purse more than right now.
That's awesome. And what about you?
It's really, really cool.
Great. April, what do you think?
About what?
About this place?
It's so cool.
So cool.
So cool.
Chloe, what do you think about this place?
Wow. Incredible. It's awesome. It's like amazing how people would just volunteer to do this stuff.
Awesome.
I love it.
Elizabeth?
I love it.
Great. And that part also was another high point, I'd say, just to see the amount of volunteers and the excitement. There was a lot of excitement in the place that we were in. And I think a lot of people felt the same way as me, seeing all of the stuff that was being done in this particular area. So looking back on it, I definitely can see God's hand working in so many different ways. Even though we're just a group of 12, we were able to inspire other people that were volunteering with us, in addition to people that we were helping, the homeowners. The conversations we had with the homeowners, the Bibles that we gave out to people, like, there was a lot of great things that came from this trip. And I guess this is an encouragement to those people who are watching. Even the smallest things that you can do. I mean, again, the Bible says, he who is faithful in a very little thing is also faithful in much. If you're faithful in just doing one small thing, like simply going with Samaritan's Purse for a week to help out with something, or even if it's just like a smaller thing that you do on Sunday every week, there's ways God uses that more than beyond what you can realize. And it's something that you need to remember, that the things that you do here on this earth have an eternal value. What are you living for? Are you willing to go ye into all the world and preach the gospel, however that may be? Maybe it's going to be in your everyday job. Maybe it's going to be going through Samaritan's Purse. Maybe it's just being at home with your family. I mean, God can use you. You just have to be open and receptive to it. And however that may be, it may not be the way that we did it, may not be the way that someone else does it, but God will use you. And you just have to open yourself up to it.
For sure. Everybody on that trip would probably agree that, one, we weren't there long enough, and two, we need to make this more of a habit, for sure.